The night is young, the skies are clear, and if you want to go walking, dear, come on. Well, like a stretch of green black dollar bill from here to Kingdom Come, I can play the numbers, pay my bills, and still end up with some. Yeah. Now I got a $20 gold piece. They say nothing I can't do. I can make a dress out of a feedback, and I can make a man out of you, 'cause I'm a woman. Yes, you are.
Well, we're just getting started. That's Anastasia Baines, and she's my guest today on C'est Bon. I'm just getting started with talking to wonderful people around the world, people that I have worked with, and people that I've known over the years. Hi, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, Carolyn.
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. Bit quiet, but good.
Yeah. So, um, let the people know a little bit about your background and how you got started, and then we'll talk about some of your work and your projects.
Okay. I was born in Harlem back in 1961, and I went to Catholic school. Resurrection was the name of the Catholic school I went to. The pastor at our school, he was very famous in the Black community in the civil rights scene. His name was Father Lawrence E. Lucas, and he really instilled
Oh,
a lot of values in us. He came to our school I was in the fourth grade. The last time I had nuns was in the fourth grade. So from the fifth through the eighth grade, he released the nuns from our school and brought in lay teachers, Black lay teachers, to teach us Black history. And I know religion was one of the subjects that we learned, and yeah, English and math and stuff like that, you know. But we had to really get ingrained in who we were as youth, as Black youth. We had to know our history. So um, I was really grateful for the fact that he made us learn it, you know, because
hmm.
some other schools, they didn't learn it. They didn't learn Black history. They didn't know what we were talking about.
Well, I'm older than you, and I remember that the books on Negro history sat in the corner. You know,
Okay,
they got the books, but we didn't use them.
okay. No,
Yeah.
we got these yellow sheets that we would study every week, and we would have programs, we'd have assemblies that were dedicated to a lot of our figures, like Malcolm X Day, we would celebrate. We celebrated Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, and so forth and so on. We did programs with writings by Langston Hughes, just to name a few.
So Father
And
Lucas was a revolutionary in a certain way because,
yes, he was.
the Protestants, as I recall, tended to be more involved in the civil rights movement. But okay, so Black Catholics were as well. That's a great thing to know.
Yes, well, actually, he wrote the book Black Priest, White Church. And, you know, he talked about racism in the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the people that were in our community, you know, we go to church, and he would talk about these things. He would talk about politics that was going on at the time. And, you know, a lot of the parents didn't understand. They just basically said, oh, you know, on Sundays we go to hear about politics and he's supposed to be giving a sermon, but he was educating us at the time. You see.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got to the eighth grade, he was my religion teacher. And I remember him saying to us, he said, you did not choose to be here. You were baptized. It was not of your own free will. So when you leave here and you become consenting adults, you have the option to choose how you want to worship. Yeah. And I never forgot that up until the day I became a Nichiren Buddhist, starting to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And
Mm-hmm.
his words would ring in my head as he said this to us. But after I graduated that Catholic school, I want to go back a little bit. I had a teacher. She pushed me a lot in the academics, and she actually encouraged me so much. I was the valedictorian of my eighth grade class. And then I had another teacher who was our principal at the time, and I had expressed to my favorite teacher that although I excelled in the academics, I did not have an interest in attending Bronx High School of Science nor Stuyvesant, which I got into both schools, and the
Mm-hmm.
Catholic
Which
schools,
is rare for
Catholic
a
high
child of
schools.
color, even today. There are
Hmm.
issues with the public school system in Stuyvesant, at least.
Well, I got in, I passed the test, and I said, that's nice. I only took it because I needed an option. But my first choice, my first love was the School of Performing Arts. And my principal, she challenged me. And at that time, I was starting out very young. I'd gone to dancing school. Ruth Williams Dancing School is what I went to. It was on 125th Street in the Teresa Towers. And she's my principal at the time. She said to me, can you name five black dancers, famous black dancers? I could only name one at that time. I could only name Judith Jamison. And the fact that she challenged me, I said, I'm going to do this. I am going to become a dancer. I'm going to that school and I'm going to fulfill my wish. So when the results came back, I got in by the skin of my teeth. I did. I literally got in by 1.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I chose that school. And my favorite teacher, who was my eighth grade teacher, she said, Anastasia, you have to um, make a choice that makes your heart sing. You have to be happy
Yeah.
because we cannot tell you to go to a school and then you're not happy and then you don't progress along a path that where you feel that you're excelling in your life, because everybody seems to know what's best for you until they listen to you and watch you actually prove them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the High School of Performing Arts, and that was one of the most wonderful experiences I had. I was very shy as a child. That's why my mother put me in
Is
dancing.
this is the school that's over by
46th
Lincoln
Street.
Center?
It was at 46th Street initially. There were two schools that were joined together, and they merged at the school at Lincoln Center, but they were originally two separate schools. There was the School of Music and Art, which is on 135th Street up in Harlem. And then the school that I went to, the School of Performing Arts, which was known as PA or the Fame School, was located on 46th Street.
Like the movie, yeah.
Yes, exactly. As a matter of fact, Alan Parker, the director, he came to the school in my senior year to get his inspiration for the movie. So
Oh.
we got to see him every day with his people, his team, and they observed us while we were in classes, dance classes, while we were, but the scene that you see us on the table, we never danced on the table. We danced in the auditorium. It was in the auditorium where we would have our lunch and, just dance in the basement, what we called the basement. The place where you first come in was called the basement.
Yeah,
And we would
yeah.
dance at lunchtime, do our thing. And then I was able to get a full scholarship to go to Juilliard. And that's where
That's
you
where
and
I
I
met
met.
you.
Yeah, that's where we met.
Yeah.
And I was still very much interested in pursuing a dance career. But in the back of my head, I said, well, if this doesn't pan out, then I need to think about adding to this. People would often talk about the opportunities that would afford you if you were a triple threat, if you could sing, dance, and act. So I thought,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
I could do that. Another story. My uncle, may he rest in peace, he was a jazz drummer. His name was Tony Callender. And I
Wow.
remember he called me on my 18th birthday. This was before I got into Juilliard. And he says to me, so what are you doing? I said, yeah, I'm going to Juilliard. I'm going to dance, dance, dance. And he said, what about your singing and acting? I said, what about it? And he read me the riot act. He said, if you want to survive in this business, you need to be able to sing, dance, act, and even play an instrument. And I
Let's
was
put an
thinking,
exclamation mark there for our youngsters watching and aspiring to careers in theater or opera or whatever. Say that again. You have to sing.
you have to be able to do it all. You have to be able to sing, dance, act, and sometimes they even actually play an instrument, or if you play an instrument,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I didn't understand it at the time when he instilled it into me. He said, you have to be able to do this. And he was an extra in, what is that movie, Cotton Come to Harlem. And at the time, he was dating Vernee Watson, who was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the mother, she played Will's mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I was connected to Vernee back in the day. She would come to my dance concerts and such. And when she really came out, as a star was featured, I was like, I remember her. She used to date my Uncle Tony, you know. Uh-huh. And my uncle, he passed in 81. So it was like 2 years while I was still in Juilliard.
Mm-hmm.
And his words rang so true to me. He says, you better be able to sing, dance, and act and play an instrument. So while at Juilliard, I thought about how do I do that? So when I graduated Juilliard, uh, it took a while for me to get in the business because, a lot of our, shall I say, colleagues, they jumped right into the scene as soon as they got their piece of paper, or sometimes even before, or sometimes even at the same time.
We were a part of a group that was extraordinary, especially the acting students.
Yes,
Ving
yes.
Rhames, Wendell Pierce, Michael
Hmm.
Beach, Lorraine
Hmm.
Toussaint, Eric
Hmm.
LaSalle, although
Hmm.
Eric went to NYU, but now Juilliard tries to claim him, but we claim him
Hmm.
anyway.
Hmm.
And so that was quite a gathering of artists and talent at that time.
Hmm.
Quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I
So
remember
you had
them.
mentors that were because of growing up in New York, but not just that, mentors who were educators, and also your uncle was a mentor because he
Yes.
gave you some very, very real advice. How did that sustain you over the time? Once you got out of school, you said you didn't jump
Okay.
right in. What
Yeah,
happened?
it took a while. It took a while because I wanted to do everything at the same time. But somebody said, you are not going to be able to. So you have to focus. So in 84, because we graduated in 83, in 84, I did Hershey Park, which was theme park. And, I was a little bit stuck up about it. I said, I went to Juilliard. Why am I doing theme park? But
Girl, wait a minute. Wait, a check is a check, okay? Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. So I went to the audition, and
Uh-huh.
I remember there were so many of us there. And I remember my friend who I graduated high school was Lisa Cage. She's a big she's a production stage manager now on the big Broadway shows.
Yeah.
Lisa Dawn Cave Schwartz is her name now, but back then she was known by Lisa Cave. And she said to us, we cannot go into the room at the same time. So we need to spread ourselves out if we
Oh, you
want to
mean
succeed.
the chocolate
Yes,
up in the chocolate. Had to
yes,
spread that out. Okay.
exactly. We had
Mm-hmm.
to be one chocolate bit in a room of vanilla pudding. So I was the last one. I was in the last group because I remember what she said. So I said, well, you guys go first. I'll go last. And I got the job. So I was the chocolate bunny in the show Dance, Dance, Dance 84 in Hershey Park that summer.
Yeah, I did a stint in the stage show at Kings Island in Ohio, and you do what, like 6 or 7 shows a day?
We did 5 shows a day.
It's
And we
good
worked,
training though,
yes, it's very good training, especially with quick changes.
and checking your props.
Yes,
Check
yes,
your props, check your
yes,
costumes every
yes.
time. It
Hmm.
helps develop that discipline. Yeah.
Hmm.
So did you, wait a minute now, did you indulge in the chocolate? Did you get free
I
chocolate at
did.
the
I
party?
did. Hershey, Pennsylvania.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I did. That the factory was not far from the park, and every morning, the facility where we stayed, I
Uh-huh.
could smell the chocolate every morning, and I would have chocolate kisses on my desk, for energy for in between the shows because they were half-hour shows.
Yeah,
So
I remember that schedule. I mean, after a while, it just goes like one, okay, that goes down. You have 30 minutes, bathroom, check everything, check your makeup, get ready for the next show. And it just trains you in a way, it's like you can't say, "Oh, I went to Juilliard, I went to UC or whatever and I can't do
mhm,
this," because you're working. And
yes,
especially at that age, it's such a wonderful thing. It's like, oh, I have a job and they're paying
mhm,
me to perform. And usually it's fun. So,
mhm.
but now after Hershey, what happened?
So after Hershey, I auditioned for this dance company. It's a modern dance company,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized then I needed to do more. I needed to express more of myself because after doing Hershey, we were singing, we were lip syncing, but the expression that we had on the stage, it was so much more. And yes, okay, fine. The technique that I, acquired from the modern dance company was wonderful. But
Mm-hmm.
it was during that time I was there, I realized I need to train as a musical theater artist. So I went to the director of the company and I said, listen, I love being here, but I need to do more. So I'm going to audition for the Nat Horn Musical Theater School, and that's what I did. I got in, and that year at Nats prepared me for so much. I mean, and Nat, I had him when I was on scholarship at Ailey's between 76 and 79. He was one of my jazz teachers. It was
Can
at
you
one
talk about Nat
school.
Horn, just who he was for people that aren't familiar?
Okay, Nat Horn had a musical theater school on Theater Row, 42nd Street. He also was a jazz teacher. He was also a Broadway chorus performer. He was on Broadway for 16 years, and he performed with the greatest people, like uh, Pearl Bailey, to name a few, Sammy Davis Jr., in all these shows. And by the time he opened his school, he instilled in us the importance of being able to sing, dance, and act. So that's what we did at his school. And by the time I left that season, I had auditioned for the musical Carmen Jones, which was a Broadway show originally. And then we were doing the European tour of that production. And that was scheduled to be 1 year in Europe, touring all over, all the different countries in Europe.
How was that?
That was an eye opener for me because it was the first time that I ever left the States. First time being on a bus with so many different performers and just learning everything. First time being in all these different countries and having all this different currency to deal with at the time.
It is before the Euro.
Yes, this is way before the Euro. We're talking 1986 to
But
87.
what was your first impression when you got there, Anna? Because being African American
Hmm.
and going to a place that has been presented to us, especially coming through classical training, because you did
Hmm.
classical ballet and modern and whatnot,
Yes.
that this is the apex of culture. And then you get there, you say, well, people ride the bus and they go in the subway and they do shopping just like everybody else. What were some of your first impressions of being in Europe on
Apropos
tour?
shopping, I had culture shock. We were in Dane Bosch in Holland. That's where we opened. And I remember going to the grocery store, and like when we go to the grocery store here, they bag everything for you. Well, I had to bag my own food and I had to get a paper bag because I didn't have anything. Because most of the people they went shopping, they brought their own little shopping bags or these little carts. So that was for me like the biggest culture shock.
Hmm. And here we are in 2020 finally catching up with that, which is conserving paper and trees and everything else.
Mhm.
So you did this tour for a year?
Yes, we went to Holland, Germany, where I ended up staying after the tour. We went to Austria, um, France. We went to Belgium, Copenhagen. Yeah, we were in Denmark. And it was just forever on a bus. For 9 months, we ended up doing the tour.
But what
And
an
a lot of,
awesome thing.
yeah, and a lot of people that were on the tour with me, they had done Radio City, Porgy and Bess.
Hmm.
And, they were from all over, but I remember them talking about that production a lot. And these were Black opera singers who were incredible. I'd never heard voices like this, ever. And then it being in the chorus, and then, I was one of the dancers. And I
Okay, well, wait,
also,
back up because see, you jumped from Carmen Jones to Porgy and Bess. So did you come back to the States
okay,
before, or you said you
these
stayed?
people were in Porgy and Bess. No, the people I'm talking about, I was in Carmen Jones, but the
Yeah.
people that I was in Carmen Jones with were in the Radio City Music Hall production of Porgy and Bess. So I had never, been in Porgy and Bess. I'd only seen that production.
Hmm.
So on the tour of Carmen Jones, I got to hear their stories about the different productions they were in. I got to meet a lot of these Black opera singers who were indeed um, major, major players in the field, like Ruby Hines,
Yep.
you know, um, Paula Ingram
Yes.
was on that tour. Laverne Williams was on that tour. Tyrone Jolivet was on that tour.
Well,
Jonathan
I have a
Spray.
picture of you with someone. Let's see if I can pull this up. Um, hang on a second. Like I said, I need a wingman.
Hmm.
I'm going to pull this up when I can. Okay, so people can see it. Share the screen.
Okay.
So talk about that for a second.
Okay. So when I finished the tour of Carmen Jones, I ended up in Munich because the person that was the hair and makeup, he was in charge of hair and makeup. He said to me, Anastasia, you can braid very well. I want you to come to consider coming to Munich and braiding in my shop. So I was like, okay. So that was in 87.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Janet and I, she's my agent now, Janet
Uh-huh.
Tyler Loomer. I remember us getting off the plane and we saw a picture we saw a poster of the show Chicago. And she said, girl, they have a black girl on that poster. You need to try to get in that show. So I was like, okay, whatever. So we went to see the show. It was at one of the theaters where we performed in Munich called the Deutsches Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the show twice. We saw it one time, and that was the first time I'd ever seen the show, any show in German. I didn't understand it. I just, enjoyed the dancing and the singing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time we went, it was for the closing. And this man came up to us and asked us if we were interested in auditioning for the production of Porgy and Bess that was going to be directed by Professor Gertz Friedrich at the Theater des Westens that following spring, which would have been the spring of 1988.
And that's in
So,
Berlin, right?
yes, that was in Berlin. I'd never been to Berlin. And I said, yeah, okay, whatever. And I said it just like that. So I said, give me the address. I sent in my picture and resume because at that time, all you needed was picture and resume.
Yeah.
And I forgot about it. So that was in around May, June. And I
Mm-hmm.
went back to the States, and then I came back to Munich to start my contract to braid hair, or so I said, continue to braid hair. And then the person that I was staying with said to me, you have mail from Berlin. They said it's from a theater. I said, I don't know anybody. They throw it in the garbage. And they said, wait a minute. I said, wait a minute. Oh, I remember. I said, oh, I remember now. That was for that show, Porgy and Bess. And then
How
I
long?
said,
What was the time gap between?
the time gap between was maybe about not even a whole year. No, it was about a year. And
Oh
I said,
wow.
I said, wait a minute. No, I sent it in I think around May, June. And then it came back in August, September, the invitation to audition. And I looked at the date. The date was October 31st. I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that audition. I'm going to be going back to the States and then en route to St. Croix to start a contract in the islands. And I don't know if you remember Diane Bolden. She was in Munich at the
Yeah.
time. She's an
Yeah.
opera singer. She read me the riot act on the street. She said, Anastasia, let me explain something to you. If you could do 9 months of Carmen Jones, you could do Porgy and Bess. So they convinced me to somehow set up an audition. So the person that I was staying with, they called the theater and set up the appointment for me. And my audition was company class with those same people that I went to see in that musical Chicago. Okay.
Okay. When can you explain company class for people?
Okay.
So you're taking a
Okay, company class, it's a training when you're in a musical theater company or a ballet company or dance company, the entire group of dancers or performers takes training together, and that's referred to as company class
right?
or warm up.
Mm-hmm.
So my audition consisted of a training with these people that I was watching. I'd never seen them in my life, but from my training at Juilliard, I always knew you pick the best one in the class and you compete with that one. So this girl, that was the best one. I mean, she was doing this movement across the floor. We were doing PK. So she would do one PK, one PK. I said, okay, I'm going to do single,
Okay.
double,
You have to
single,
tell
double.
us what a PK is, Mama.
Okay. This is a ballet term, and it consists of balancing on one leg and having the other one where your toe is to your knee and you make like a right angle and you turn at the same time. You put your weight on it and you turn it. So she did singles. So I said, okay, I did single, double, single, double, single, double across the floor. And then they looked at me and they said, "Oh, okay, who is this?"
Uh-huh.
And then by the time the class was over, the choreographer called me into the office along with the gentleman who originally told me about the opportunity.
From
He's no
Munich.
longer, yes, he was in
Yeah.
the company that he's no longer with us.
Uh-huh.
And his name was Dion Davis, F. Dion Davis. And he was there at the class and the choreographer, and they invited me into the office. They said, "Well, I'd like to share the good news with you. We are going to accept you for Porgy and Bess for next season. So we're going to invite you to be in the production." So
Hmm.
I was the first dancer hired. I got my contract and everything. Uh, it was in German, but the people I was staying with helped me sign it, send it back, and everything. So I said, "All right." I went home. I went to the islands, came back to New York. This was in, I think, around the end of March. I flew to, where did I fly? I flew to Munich, I think it was. And then I remember going to Berlin after that.
Hmm.
And I was on a train to Berlin. It was a night train. And the wall was still up at that time. So it was intense. It
Yeah,
was
I've done
intense.
those night trains before the EU. Yeah.
Yes. So when we got to Berlin, I remember coming out of the train station and looking up and seeing that famous church that you see in a lot of postcards,
Yeah.
and um, just taking it all in. I said, "Wow!" I felt like the city embraced me. So I went to the place I was staying, and then the first day of rehearsals, I saw the rest of the dancers who were hired to be in Porgy and Bess. And my first reaction was, "Oh my God, they are all bigger than me. I have to dance big," because I was the smallest one.
Hmm.
So coming back to the production, the actual production of Porgy and Bess, I got to meet the creme de la creme of the Black opera world, and I didn't even realize it because, after the performances, we would go out and eat at this place called Puccini's. That was our favorite restaurant in Berlin.
Hmm.
And the person that you see me in the photo with is Mr. Donnie Ray Albert, and he played one of the Porgies. I was
Let's
playing.
let's go back to that photograph quickly.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yes. And in that scene, he comes back from going to New York, and he brings back the presents. So in that scene, I am Mariah. Mariah is one of the characters. She's like the matriarch of the Catfish Row, which is a
Hmm.
community. She sends me to go out and look and see what Porgy has brought back for everybody. So that's why I'm looking in the bag, and he's singing about the different presents that he brought for the different people. And
Yeah.
I'm looking in that particular photo, I'm looking in the bag, I'm looking for my present. He talks about bringing back a harmonica and a hat
And
and
a
this and
red
that
dress.
and a
Yeah.
red dress. And
Yeah.
I said, "Where's my present?" That's why I look the way I look.
Ah. Well,
Yes, yes.
let's while we're on this, let's look at a couple other pictures. Let me see if I can make this work now.
Okay.
Okay. Um, let's come back to this one. I want to. This is from Sister Act, and
Yes.
so antithetical to what you were doing before. Was this also at Teatro des Westerns?
No. Can you go back to the picture where I'm on the couch with the dancer? This is Teatro des Festens. And I
Well,
was best in that company for 3 years. But let me give you the backstory for this. So remember when I told you I saw the dancers for the very first time from the production of Porgy and Bess, and I said,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I have to dance big." So because of that attitude, that choreographer, who was also the choreographer of the company, a month later asked me if I was interested in joining their musical theater company because one of his women was leaving the company. And
Wow.
I was like, "What? You want me to stay here in Berlin, in Germany?" I said, "I got to go back home to go to Broadway." That was me being naive and arrogant. So one of the other performers who heard about my reaction said, "Girl, you better take that contract
There's,
because."
isn't it wonderful that there's some angel nearby to give us the word?
Mhm,
I
mhm.
want people to hear this now. I cut off the first part, but just where your part starts. So we're going to listen to a little bit of this. This
Yeah.
is Delightful to Lovely.
Hmm.
Oops, didn't work. Let me go back.
Okay.
See if that'll do it. Here we go.
The night is young, the skies are clear, and if you want to go walking, dear, it's delightful, it's delicious, it's lovely. I understand the reason why you're sentimental, 'cause so am I. It's delightful, it's delicious, it's lovely. You can tell at a glance what a swell night this is for romance. You can hear dear Mother Nature murmuring, oh, let yourself go, so please be sweet, my chickadee. And when I kiss you, just say to me, it's delightful, it's delicious, it's delectable, it's delirious, it's deliver, it's delivered, it's deluxe, it's the lovely.
Work it, girl.
You can tell what a swell night this is for romantic here. Let yourself go. It's delightful, it's delicious, it's delectable, it's delirious, it's the level, it's the limit, it's the lucid.
Amazing. And you know something? Um, what a command of the voice, because you know a lot of times when you have to dance like that and even more energetically, so it's so hard to get those notes out. But girl, you nailed that last high note. I was like, okay, my sister.
Can I share something special with you?
Sure.
That story about that. That was a year after I joined the company. I joined the company in '88. And
Mm-hmm.
'89, this was the performance for New Year's Eve. And the conductor at the time, he was a young conductor. His name was Brian Lewisell. He's in charge now of all the high school musical movies and stuff. He said it would be, this was just like a thought in his head. The guy that was dancing, his name is Friedrich, he could play Rudo Valentino and I could play his love interest.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could play his love interest. So this was an experiment, this number. And this was like my first year, like I said, in the company. I was the newbie. And when I got this given to me as another gift, a lot of the people, they couldn't understand it. So yeah, and you know what I mean when I say that. They could not
Don't get
understand
me
it.
started.
So when we got the applause and the recognition that we got on that night,
Yeah.
there were people that were in the audience from the TV station called the ZDF or the ZDF,
Mm-hmm.
and they picked that number to be in the gala presentation that appeared on television. So after that, I got an extra contract for it because it was for TV. A lot of my company members, it put a nasty taste in their mouth, put it this way.
Whoa.
What can you say? So that was pretty much my
Yeah.
breakout piece. That was my breakout number.
But at this time, you didn't know German, so I
No.
remember when I came to Berlin to sing at the Deutsche Oper. You were like, I don't want to be like some people come over here and said dim and doze and dish. You actually set out and you are actually fluent in German now. So let's talk more because we're gonna run out of time. I always run out of time. But let's talk more about your work at Teatro des Western and then your work around Europe doing
Okay.
musical theater.
Okay. So I stayed there for 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
then I said, I need to go out into the world and really understand this language, be able to speak it and perform fluently in it. So I was then contracted at this big musical theater house called Friedrichstadtpalast. I stayed there for 2 years, and then I went on tour with Barkheimer's Porgy and Bess, directed by Baruch Lee, and we were there from '93 to '94. And then in '94,
Weren't you the choreographer for that
no,
production?
I was assistant. By that time,
Okay.
I was assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump forward, the Porgy and Bess, because that was one version of Porgy and Bess. And then the one I did at Theater des Westens with Professor Friedrich was another. So we'll skip forward to '97, where he did it at the big Bregenz Festspiele in Austria. I was the assistant and the dance captain in '97 and in '98. And that was on the big stage. I was behind the scenes at that time. And like I said, the Black Opera royalty was also invited to be there. And I actually saw you there as well, because you came to one of the
I was
events
over in
there.
Verona, yeah.
Yeah, you were in Verona, and you came to one of the parties that we had. I remember seeing you there. It was a pleasure to see you there. And then let's skip forward to 2001, when I
Mm-hmm.
decided to come out from behind the scenes. Actually, in 2000, I decided to come out from behind the scenes. And I auditioned for the original production of The Lion King in German, the original German production. And I
Ooh.
got cast in the role of Shenzi, who's the hyena. And I was already by then speaking German, speaking fluently in German and performing in German by then.
Well, I'm gonna just show a few pictures, and if you can comment on those.
Okay.
Um, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about in your work as a choreographer and, you know, in doing, I don't want to say arts administration, but being part of artistic administration, which is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you have any reflections or thoughts about that in terms of the arc of a dance career? So while I'm setting that up, if you can go ahead and just start speaking on that, and I'll get these photos set up here.
Okay, well, it's important at the beginning of your dance career to already think about what you're going to do when you can no longer dance. Because there are a lot of people that either got injured unexpectedly and didn't think about what they could do.
Mm,
So while I was at Juilliard, of course, we had lots of choreography classes, and that was one of my favorite subjects. So I said, okay, this is something I can add to the arsenal. And I was asked by that same choreographer who did the Porgy and Bess in Berlin in '88. He was originally slated to do the choreography, but he didn't. He gave it up to someone else, and I assisted this person for 2 seasons. And like I said, being a choreographer, being behind the scenes, you're responsible for what goes on with the performers.
mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was actually responsible for the performance because in Bregenz, a lot of them had never been to Austria and they were dealing with a lot of, difficult situations. And I was their go-to person. Okay. And that was an extraordinary situation. But I also had to be the right hand of the choreographer because in case she or he needed to do something or they needed something for me, I had to run. I had to be the right hand. I had to run and jump and be aware. And if they asked me a question, I would have to answer it. Even if I didn't know the answer at the time, I would have to think on my feet.
Yes.
So later on, when I was assisting another choreographer for another production, he was having difficulty with one of the dancers. So he said, Ani, he says, I want you to have a private rehearsal with her because she's not listening to me. So I did. I set up a private rehearsal with her. And, like I said, you're the go-between for
Yeah.
them. And it was after that experience in 2000 where I felt, my God, I'm responsible for all these people. I didn't sign up for this. you know, I decided to go back on stage because I just wanted to be responsible for me. But I was glad that I got the training because the leadership training that you get is, it's priceless. Now, there are some of my colleagues that enjoyed this path versus going back onto the stage. But I
Yeah.
said, I'm not done yet. So,
Well, listen, Cicely Tyson is what, 93, and she's not done
or
yet. No, okay.
Exactly.
I stand corrected. Let's look at some of these photographs, though,
Okay.
because such a contrast in the various things. The video we saw at the beginning was like really awesome, beautiful, beautiful shots. And these are some things that we're going to show of some of your work. And so if you can just talk about, as soon as it comes up, there we go. So this is Sister
This
Act.
is from Sister Act. This is a very interesting. This was a very interesting time in my life because I was 50 years old, and
Wait,
it
wait, wait,
was the
wait. Wait now. What you say that number again?
50. I just turned 50.
You-
I did this production
Black,
between two.
wait. How do you say black don't crack in German?
It doesn't crack if you don't oil it. It will crack.
Get that shea butter.
Coconut oil, almond oil. If you do not oil it, it will crack.
And
So I
hydrate.
was Yes, and hydrate. Oh, that is very important. So when I got this contract, it was 2011 to 2012,
Uh-huh.
and I say that I was 50 because it was the first time I was ever a swing in a show. A swing, for those who do not know, is someone who is responsible for learning many parts. And in this particular musical, I was responsible for the nuns, different parts that the nuns did.
Mm-hmm.
In the first picture, you see me dancing there. That was the disco scene in Sister Act, where Dolores Van Cartier and her backup dancers and singers are presented for the first time. This is when you first see her. The picture where I'm in the white, I'm one of the nuns, and this was the finale. Now, the two women behind me, I also covered their parts in any given time. And being a swing was very challenging because you had to have a book, what was called your personal Bible, with everyone's track in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I remember getting a call when I was on my way to the theater, basically saying, Anastasia, I know you were slated to be off tonight and on call, but you have to jump into the role of Sister Teresa. I said, okay, no problem. So by this particular time, I'd already had my information in my head. I knew that track by heart because
Hmm.
that was probably one of my favorite tracks. She was
That
the
takes
oldest
that
one.
takes a lot of being calm and just very focused. Did your chanting help you with that at all?
Yes, it did. Yes,
Hmm.
it did. Oh,
I love these colors, I have to say.
well, this is a recent, well, most recent for Mary Poppins, from 2016 to 2019. 2016 to 2018, we did it
Which
in.
city were you in?
I'm getting ready to tell you, we did it
Okay.
in Stuttgart first. We opened in Stuttgart,
Uh-huh.
and then we moved in 2018 to 2019. We moved to Hamburg. And in this picture on the left, you see me with my two daughters. My character's name is Mrs. Corey,
Uh-huh.
and the daughter on the left in the red is Fanny, and the daughter on the right in the green is Annie. So it was Annie and Fanny and Mrs. Corey and her daughters. The picture that you see on the right with the entire group, this is from the number supercalifragilisticexpialidocious in English, but we did the German version, so we sang it supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And I will maybe put in the video so people can hear a bit of it because it is, we grew up with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and so
Hmm.
we all know those words,
Hmm.
but the whole thing is in German, right?
The whole thing is
The
in German.
dialogue,
Yes.
the songs, everything.
Yes. Yes.
Fascinating. But I love these colors. How long did it take to do that makeup? I'm curious.
Oh, that that was the makeup from the second act. The second
Uh-huh.
act. First act, it's fast makeup. You have to do it like in warp speed. So like about a minute and a half. I had about 2 minutes to really get those eyebrows, the colors to pop. And they taught us how to do it so that we can jump back on because that was a quick change. We had
Yeah.
a number before that where we're playing secretaries in an office, and then when I come back, I have dressers that take me out of the costume. They put on this orange costume and my wig, and while they're putting on my wig, I'm doing my makeup.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was my quickest change
Yeah, see,
ever.
people think what we do is like super glamorous. It is serious work, people.
Yes.
And we have an appreciation performers have an appreciation for the things our colleagues go through. I think I have one more. Oh, this is a video. Now, this is from a party that you
Yes,
were
that's
at,
from a
right?
party. Yeah, I was singing Simply the Best for a colleague who was leaving us at We Will Rock You to go and be in the German production of Wicked.
But the main thing I want to say is, and I'll show you the picture afterwards, Anna was playing the Acid Queen in Tommy. So this was kind of like a preparation for that because the Acid Queen was originally Tina Turner,
Mhm.
and you're not that you're doing your own thing, but
Yeah, I had to do it to accommodate her. I
yeah,
changed it to
but
accommodate her.
you've got some of the mood down. So let's
We are going to miss you so much, but you have a greater mission ahead of you. You go on, you're going to be the best album of Wicked has.
and I think one of the things that we can appreciate so much is the fact that all of the energy in the room is just here you are. Did you ever think that as a dancer you'd be like being able to inspire people like that? Because usually if you're a dancer, you're part of the corps,
Hmm.
and you're part of the group and you're supposed to follow what everyone tells you to do. But here you are, you're just like boom, here I am.
Mhm.
When did that moment happen for you as a performer where you were like, okay, I think you mentioned it when you started working in theater, but you have to arrive at that inside first before you can do it outside. You know what I mean?
I always knew that I wanted to be a soloist. And I remember that summer in 1984, the producer of Dance, 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 he said to me, Anastasia, I know you're a solo dancer, but this summer you will learn to dance in the chorus. Yes. Yes.
So you
Yes.
will learn to dance in the chorus. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
In other words, get back, get
Mhm.
down. And you were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no, 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 I'm a soloist.
Exactly. Exactly. But this Tina experience goes on and it culminates in what I'm getting ready to do now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, wait,
the
before
Acid
you
Queen
say that, I
part.
just want to show this picture of the Acid Queen
Okay.
because I was like, dang, I wish I could wear hot pants like that. Hang on. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can pull this up. Oh, come on now. Don't give me a hard time. Okay. Um, there we go.
Yeah. That was in 2015 to 2016 in Linz, Austria. I had wanted to do that role ever since I'd auditioned for it. It was a tour production that was coming through back in '95. They were coming through Germany. And I remember singing the song and not getting chosen for it. And I said, whenever that production ever comes up, I want to play the Acid Queen. So when they said, "Oh, we're going to do this piece at this theater," I was like, "Oh, this is my role." I just said, "This is my role. I don't care who is going in there in front of me to audition. I am singing this role," and I got
Hmm.
it. And I got it.
But now singing all these different kinds of styles. I mean, Mary Poppins is very traditional.
Mhm.
Acid Queen is rock. So how were you able to sustain your voice all that time?
Technique. I leaned more toward the classical because that was the basis for the technique. And
Hmm.
when you do the belting, you really have to open up, you really have to support on the body and take that speaking voice. You pretty much bend the rules when you're belting. You extend that speaking voice up into registers, up into cavities that normally are not allowed.
And I would say, the classical training for voice is like the bar for a dancer.
Yes, yes, it is.
And I'm not talking about the bar where you get a shot.
Although some people use that as a warm up. You know,
I was doing a recording, a massenet opera, and the soprano was gargling with red wine in the dressing room. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
to
But
relax
à
the
chacun
voice.
a son goût, to each his
Yeah,
own. So tell me
yeah.
about your upcoming projects and
Okay, so
what's going
um,
on.
Tina Turner is the next piece I'll be doing. I'm in Hamburg right now. I will be playing the grandmother. So Tina the musical, that's going to be in German. I play her grandmother Gigi. And right now, because of the lockdown, we are employed. We've been sent the music and all the material, and we've had our costume fittings, but we're not allowed to rehearse just yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not allowed to rehearse just yet. So in this time, I am learning my music, going to my voice classes, going to the gym, and doing everything that I need to do, acting as if I'm preparing for the opening
And
of
I
this.
think I think that's a good way to go about dealing with this pandemic. Do you so Tina, that's the same show that's opening in New York, right?
That opened in New York. They opened in November
Well, I didn't have no
of
Broadway money,
last year.
but yeah,
They
yeah.
opened last year, and Tina Turner was there in all her glory. But that is the same production, except we're doing the German version. There's a
Hmm.
German and there's a version in Holland. Uh, the initial version was in London. That was the initial production, and
Hmm.
then it came to Germany, and then Holland opened up. Um, no, excuse me. Uh, London, Germany, New York, and then Holland opened. And Madrid was scheduled to open this year, but because of the pandemic,
Is
they're
this the
not talking
same
about
production
Madrid.
company for all of these?
Yes, yes, Stage
So it's kind
Entertainment.
of like Cats or what is it, Phantom of the Opera. It's the same production company, and they just disperse
It's a
across the
different one.
globe.
It's Stage Entertainment. It's a
Hmm.
different company.
Hmm.
Stage Entertainment is also in New York, and we are one of the sister companies. We're Stage Entertainment Germany.
Now let me ask you something, because I worked in London doing Carmen Jones, by the way, at the Old Vic.
Mhm.
And how do they do the casting when it's a show that's dealing with predominantly African American topics? Do they go get African American actors and bring them over, or how does that work?
They do that, or they post audition notices saying they're looking for African American performers, and they come from all over. I mean, in Tina, there are people from Holland, London, America,
But they're
and performers that
Dutch
were already in
or
Germany.
British.
Hmm.
Uh huh.
Hmm.
Okay.
And also American performers that have stayed in Germany after maybe tours that they've done and they've decided to stay here. A
Yeah.
lot of people, from the Lion King productions back in, the years
Mm-hmm.
when I was with Lion King, a few people have joined this company. So anytime they're casting a show which is predominantly African American, they send out their feelers. They even go as far as South Africa because that's what they did when they were doing the Lion King
There are a
initially.
lot of good
You know,
singers in South Africa. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, amazing, amazing.
So, what would be your advice? I mean, we're kind of running out of time now,
Okay,
unfortunately.
okay,
But what would be your advice to young performers? And then my final question is, if you had three wishes, what would those wishes be?
okay, okay. My advice to young performers would be, if this is what your passion is, you stay in the game. I mean, you're going to hear a lot of no's, but that just brings you closer to that major yes. I've heard tons of no's. There's so many shows that I auditioned for, and when I look back, I said, "Oh my God, that did not have my name on it." So my prayer is when I chant for the universe to roll out the red carpet and bring me the show that's mine. And that's what happened with Lion King. That happened with Mary Poppins.
Hmm.
And that happened with Tina. Because I didn't get Tina the first time out of the gate.
You know what? Let's back up because you did mention Lion King, and I didn't really like put a exclamation mark on that. That's major.
Yeah, I
What
was
was
in
the
the
role you
original
played
company cast.
again? You played the.
The role of Shenzi. I don't know if you have it with you. The clip, the audio clip from the hyena song that we did. Uh, it's the German version. It's called Put Zweck, and in English, it's called Chow Down.
Hmm.
So that's the number that we as the hyenas sing. That's our famous number.
Yeah. I I'm gonna probably cut this bit out. I have to, about rights because it's Disney. I don't want to get
Yes,
sued.
yes, yes.
So
It's fine.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Fine.
So your three wishes. What would be
Okay.
your three wishes?
My three wishes is to stay healthy, to not be touched by this COVID pandemic,
Oh, yes.
and to stay protected, not to be touched by this racist pandemic, because there have been so many people that have been affected by it, and to be financially sound in
Yeah.
my endeavors, to
Yeah.
really feel secure in my life.
Here are my three wishes for you, and I have to think about them now. That you stay as beautiful as ever. That you remain encouraging and positive as you have always been, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you, including me. And that you have many, 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 many more years of performing. And my fourth one is that when this is all over, that we see each other in person. I love
Oh,
you,
yes.
girl.
Oh,
It has
yes.
been
Love you
a
too.
joy speaking to you.
You too.
Thank you so much for stopping by on Monday, October 12th, 2020. And for those of you that are watching, we'll be having more conversations like this in the future. Thank you so much, Anna.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
The night is young, the skies are clear, and if you want to go walking, dear, come on. Well, like a stretch, your greenback dollar bill from here to Kingdom Come. I can play the numbers, pay my bills, and still end up with some. Yeah. Now I got a $20 gold piece. They say nothing I can't do. I can make a dress out of a feedback, and I can make a man out of you. 'Cause I'm a woman. Yes, you are. Sea and surface and never a shadow. On the wind I feel his breath. Golden eye I found his weakness. Golden eye he'll do what I please. Golden eye no time for sweetness, but a bitter kiss will bring him to